Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're finally going to go over everything wrong with the $300 Outback I picked up about a month ago. Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're back on the $300 Outback SUS. Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're back on the $300 Outback. Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are wrapping up our video series on the $300 Outback SUS. Finally sold the car about a month ago, and I need to go ahead and finish this out because I realized that I left this series open-ended. We talked about purchase of this $300 car, what it was going to need to repair it. We went through a lot of the repairs. We did not do a breakdown of how much money I invested, how much I sold the car for, and how much I made on it. So for you that are looking for information on flipping cars, flipping Subarus, and how much money you can make if you know what you're doing, we're going to cover that today. So in other videos in this series of videos on this car, we went over and did a thorough inspection right after picking the car up. Originally, the owner of the car told us that it had a power steering issue, power steering leak, and that the head gaskets were blown. They had done some repair work to the car prior in the form of some wheel bearings and some brakes and a couple other things, those being an alternator and a new starter. But there were several things that needed to be done mechanically. In our original video, as I said, we went through and did a thorough inspection, and this is all that we found wrong. All right, so again, this is a 2007 Outback 2.5i Limited sedan. Current mileage is 178 to 88. So, front suspension, got under there, jacked it up, took a look underneath. I'm gonna put some clips in of these components as I name them off. So first thing we saw bad was the right front inner tie rod had a little bit of play in it when I wiggled the wheel in and out, grabbing at the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position, all tight on the driver's side. So not really bad yet, so we could replace it or we could let it slide. The price of the tie rod is $39.56 new from Subaru. From there, both of our front ball joints have destroyed boots. The ball joints themselves are not loose. They don't have play in them. Check them with a pry bar. But the ball joint boots are torn up and there's lots of junk in there. It's going to start destroying that joint. So might as well go ahead and put 2 new ball joints in them. The ball joints brand new from Subaru are $32.92. And again, both sides are bad. Both sides have bad boots. Not just one side. Front struts and rear struts. We'll talk a little bit more about the rear in a minute, but I was going to go ahead and throw that in. Looks like all 4 struts are the factory ones with 178,000 miles on them. There's visible leakage, evidence that the struts have been leaking. They're past time to be replaced, so we have those on the list. The front struts are $73 a piece, unassembled, so we would have to break down the strut, transfer the spring over. There might be a little bit more cost in there if the spring isolators are bad, if the top hat, the strut mount's bad. Haven't checked that. We'd have to check that when we get it apart. The rear struts come from KYB on Amazon as a assembled, ready-to-go quick strut assembly. They are $103.39 a piece. So glad that KYB is finally starting to offer some quick struts. I wish they would offer more for Subarus. There's not really any good quality quick struts available for Subaru vehicles right now. From there, we've got the control arm bushings, the rear large control arm bushings on the lower control arms on the front of the car. Notorious for breaking down, tearing after 100,000 miles on these control arms. 2005 is when they switched to design. The old bushings were much more stout and gave lots less issue, but these are torn and need to be replaced. They come to a price of $39.60 a piece. Both sides are bad, both sides need to be replaced. From there, the biggest problem with the car, it has blown head gaskets. This being a 2007, did have the single layer graphite coated head gasket that was prone to failure. In this engine series, they have not been replaced yet, so kind of to the higher end of mileage that it made it to 178 on the factory gaskets. These normally blow between 120 to 150,000 miles. That's the normal range, although I've seen them with extremely good care last closer to 200,000 miles. The good thing about Subarus and the head gaskets is you can visually inspect and see which ones are installed on the car, because the head gasket sticks up between the engine block and the cylinder heads. And I can clearly see that is the single layer gasket with the coating, and you can see the coating is peeling off. Of course, it's going to peel off on the outside because it's exposed to the elements, but clearly it's failed on the inside as well, because there's massive oil leaks between the head and the block underneath. There is oil and power steering fluid puddling on the front. We'll talk about the power steering pump in a little bit. And there is a blown from compression to coolant issue. We have a new radiator. So at some point it overpressurized the old radiator and blew it out. They put a new radiator in. For whatever reason, didn't check the head gaskets, which were the cause of the first blown radiator. So have to pressure test this radiator and make sure it hasn't had any damage since the issue that caused it to fail the first time was not resolved before it was replaced. So for that, we've got a full engine gasket kit priced. We've got the machine work for the heads to be completely done. This is a worst case scenario, having to replace valve guides, having to do valve seats, all of the above on machining work. Figured about $300 for both cylinder heads for machine work. I figured the engine full seal kit is $270. That is every seal and gasket, O-ring in the entire engine. Unfortunately, this kit does come with the known bad head gaskets. So to upgrade to the MLS multi-layer steel turbo gaskets, which are I believe it's part number 11044AA642. Don't quote me on that. Those head gaskets are $44 a piece from Subaru, so we'll add those into the cost as well. That will basically cover every engine issue. It has been neglected for some time. The rocker covers are leaking profusely. I'm sure the spark plug well seals are leaking. As I said, the head gaskets are leaking, the oil pan's leaking, most likely the oil pump. At this point, there's so much leakage, there's such a covering, as you'll see in the video, it's hard to say what's actually leaking and what isn't. So while we have the engine out for the head gaskets, we might as well replace every seal and gasket in the engine, since it all comes in the engine reseal kit. Moving on from there, the battery hold down is missing. Very cheap, something you want to go ahead and replace. You don't want your battery just sitting there flopping around. You hit a strong enough bump, the battery could contact the underside of the hood. Exposed bare metal, short the battery, no bueno. So the hold down is $10.90 from Subaru. The two J hooks that hold the hold down in place are $1.53 a piece, and the two nuts for the J hooks are about 15 cents a piece. From there, we'll talk about the power steering pump mentioned a minute ago. It is leaking quite profusely. Unfortunately, on this model, this style power steering pump, if you've seen videos in the past, I have bought the $35 power steering reseal kit from Subaru, but they don't offer one for this power steering pump. But this power steering pump does share quite a few seals with the older pumps. So I could probably jerry-rig that $35 seal kit to seal the issue here, which I'm pretty sure is the main body, between the back plate and the body of the pump. I believe that's what's leaking, and I'm pretty sure that seal is available in all the kits, is pretty much the same all the way across the board. If that's not available, a new power steering pump from Subaru is $369. So we're gonna figure the $35 rebuild kit and not the full pump at this time. While we're going ahead and resealing the entire engine, we're gonna go ahead and put 4 new spark plugs and a full set of spark plug wires on the engine. $9.46 a piece for the spark plugs, which are NGKs, and $60 for the spark plug wire set. We'll talk about the dashboard. So this model of Legacy Outback 2005 to 2009, there was a recall recently on sticky dashboards. The actual covering of the dashboard when exposed to UV light and time, would get sometimes, not all of them, but most of them, got this sticky residue where you would touch the dash and it was sticky and you couldn't wipe it off. Subaru did a very short run recall, only about 12 to 14 month window to have these replaced. And unfortunately that window has closed. I called Subaru of America and I cannot get a dashboard under the recall for this car because they closed out that window of opportunity. So if I wanted to put a brand new dashboard in it, it would be $476.49. Again, that's cosmetic. That's not going to affect this vehicle's performance. So that's on the back burner, but I wanted to include that because it is an issue with the car. Moving to the rear, most of the rear suspension was in pretty decent shape, aside for those rear struts that were leaking pretty badly. Rear sway bar end links, they were not great. They were already starting to have issues. So we're gonna replace those, $27.68 a piece, one on each side. The rear differential bushings are basically completely shot. Those are about $10 a piece. Timing belt kit, water pump. Timing belt water pump kit. While we're going to do this whole reseal and basically completely renew this engine, it'd be foolish not to replace the timing belt water pump and all components. So it will take an Ison TKF 006 kit that is $230.38 on Amazon. And while we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and put a brand new Subaru Genuine thermostat in it. That is $24. I've allotted about $200 for the various fluids and filters. Brake fluid needs to be replaced. Oil and filter, of course, with the teardown of the engine. ATF filter, front and rear differential fluid, gear oil. And yeah, that's it basically for the fluids. So I figure about $200 should cover most of that, if not all of it. And last but not least, we need a set of tires on this Outback. This Outback has not one, not two, but all four tires are different brands and different models, which is an absolute no-no on any Subaru. All four tires need to be a matching set with the exact same tread depth. I think the variance that Subaru allows is 2 or 3 30-seconds total between all four tires. If you get different tires, if you get different wear, like say replace 2 tires brand new and you have 2 far older worn tires, that is not good for the Subaru all-wheel drive system and cause all kinds of vibration in the drivetrain, and it's just not a good thing. So all 4 tires need to be replaced with a brand new matching set. Several of them are decent, but there is 1 or 2 that's nearly bald, and they are quite old according to the DOT number, and having some dry rot cracks in them. So not safe, do not need to run these, especially after we put all the money into the suspension. So the most decent economy price tire I could find from Discount Tire would run me about $410 for all 4 mounted and balanced, ready to go. Did not mention this earlier, I don't think, but after we get the new tires and all of the suspension components addressed, we're going to need a full 4-wheel alignment, and that will run about $50 from a buddy of mine in town. Take it to his shop and get the alignment done. So as far as I am looking, I skipped around a little bit. I'm pretty sure I covered every single thing I needed to cover on this list, which when tallying that up, again, excluding the full price of a power steering pump, excluding the center console lid, and excluding that dashboard, we get a grand total of $2,397.68 in parts to basically make this car mechanically brand new and 100% sound, as far as I can tell right now. Just saying that because I haven't been able to drive it, I haven't titled it, I haven't tagged it. So this is going off of just a visual inspection and driving it around the farm here. So with all of that found wrong, we talked about how much it would cost, how much we could put into it, and how much we were potentially gonna sell it for. Now, I went and picked and chose what I was gonna repair and what I was gonna leave for the next buyer to replace themselves. Things I was gonna inform them of at the time of purchase, going over the car with them at the time of the sale. Now, as I said, I sold the car about a month ago, and you are all probably wondering, well, where is the dollar amount? What did you invest? What did you make? That's what we clicked on the video for. Tell us about the money. So going down the list, these are the parts I actually purchased, and these are the repairs I actually performed on the vehicle. Now we'll have a total going along the screen as we go. So I purchased this car, as we have stated many, many times, for $300. Aside from that, we did an engine reseal. The price of the engine reseal kit, the MLS head gaskets, and having the cylinder heads fully machined by the machine shop professionally came out to right at $650. We're going to work with round numbers just for simplicity's sake. Aside from that, we did a power steering pump rebuild, and that was in a standalone video. That kit cost us right at $20. Then we did a replacement on the front and rear sway bar end links because they were bad and causing a knocking, bumping sound when driving the car. Those were about $68 for the front and rear together. From there, we did front ball joints. The ball joints were mechanically sound, but the boots were torn up and they just looked rough. About $60 there, $30 a piece. We did the front control arm bushings. Really common issue on the 2005 Plus chassis for those bushings to tear and to dry rot. We replaced those, another $60 for the pair there. We got some hoses for the power steering pump, and that was about $50 for the two hoses we got. Actually, one hose for the power steering. It was the suction hose for the power steering and one of the water outlet or water bypass hoses from the water pump to the hard line that goes up to the heater core. Replace that one as well. Other than that, we got a thermostat. That was $30. We got a timing belt water pump kit from Ison. That was $283. We got miscellaneous fluids as $60. That was engine oil filter, and coolant. And last on our list, the rocker cover on the right side of the engine had to be replaced to the tune of $60. The rocker cover bolts corroded and seized in the bottom of the rocker cover, and I cracked that cover, that aluminum cover, while trying to free them up, trying to drill them out and get the rocker cover off the cylinder head. So grand total, that puts us in the car for right at $1,711. Again, these are estimations and round numbers, so this is not to the penny. So I'm sure a lot of you want to know how much I sold the car for, and that was $4,000. So $4,000, subtract the $1,711 we put into it, and we made $2,289. Straight profit in my book. Some of you have issue with me never including my own labor. It's my labor on a car I'm flipping, so I never count it. But for those of you curious, the amount of work here, rough estimate off the top of my head, about $1,200 worth of labor. So we still cleared $1,000, which is not bad for something you're doing on the side. But like I said, $2,289 is actually the money I made because I don't count my labor. Now, we did start this journey, I believe, at the very end of February, beginning of March in 21, and I think I sold the car very end of February, beginning of March this year, 2022. So about a year-long project, as I did it when I had time. It wasn't a hurry up, get it done, and put it for sale thing. I strung it out. So not a bad profit for something on the side. I've got plenty of other Subarus out sitting that need to be repaired, head gaskets, engine replacements, things of that nature. I picked up for a couple of $100 each. We'll do more of these flipping videos, make a little series out of it, and we will track how much I have in the car, how much I sell the car for, and how much I make on it. We'll try to see which generation and which models make the most money, but again, this is regionally based. Had I sold this car in the north, it probably would have brought more than $4 grand. Being here in the south, Subarus aren't that sought after, especially ones that are relatively rust-free. This car had some rust, but it wasn't bad. It was mainly surface rust underneath. So guys, there you have it. A shorter video on wrapping up the $300 SUS Outback. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.